After months of planning, a team launches their project, but the dashboard indicates almost no real customer engagement. The product appears polished, yet the outcome feels like silence where enthusiasm was expected to flourish. This situation arises because new ventures grapple with significant uncertainty, rendering forecasts and milestones unreliable. As a result, work gets evaluated by output and activity, even when those efforts fail to generate validated learning. Without measuring uncertainty, teams can execute flawlessly and still head in the wrong direction. This cycle consumes time, energy, and skill, producing features instead of confirmed truths. During meetings, marketing celebrates when numbers rise, while engineering takes pleasure in similar gains. When metrics decline, blame circulates, and no one can pinpoint which action led to the outcome. In the subsequent sections, we will discuss how to identify the issue, conduct rapid experiments, measure accurately, and change direction decisively. This video draws inspiration from The Lean Startup by Ries, so subscribe for more structured insights like these. A startup is fundamentally a human institution creating new products or services amidst extreme uncertainty. This definition is crucial as it captures a context, rather than focusing solely on company size, industry, or funding style. The institutional aspect entails hiring, managing tasks, and cultivating a culture, even as the product evolves. Thus, entrepreneurship shifts to a form of management tailored for uncertainty, rather than bureaucracy for its own sake. This principle also applies within large corporations, where innovation teams, despite having resources, still require the same level of discipline. A corporate manager might possess strategic decks, staffing plans, and political backing, yet still lack a dependable process. One manager in a sizable company mentioned having kindling and sparks but no fire that reliably ignites. This gap emerges when teams emphasize structures and titles instead of implementing daily methods that translate ideas into outcomes. The fundamental change is viewing entrepreneurship as an operational role, emphasizing experiments, accountability, and learning objectives. When this transformation occurs, innovation becomes a learnable process instead of a mere gamble based on charisma. Learning can seem dubious when it is often wielded as an excuse for poor results and subpar execution. Validated learning addresses this concern by providing evidence of what is working and what isn't. This involves demonstrating, with empirical data, that a team has uncovered valuable insights about current and future possibilities. The process begins with identifying leap of faith assumptions, which are beliefs that underlie everything. Two critical assumptions are the value hypothesis and the growth hypothesis, both of which require testing. The value hypothesis examines whether customers perceive the product as valuable enough to keep using it. The growth hypothesis investigates whether the product can proliferate or expand through a viable growth mechanism. In one early social network, over half of active users returned daily, indicating a clear demonstration of value. That same product rapidly secured its initial campuses, demonstrating that user engagement can expand without the need for paid advertising. A valuable next step involves clearly stating the two hypotheses and then determining what customer behavior would validate them. The build, measure, learn loop transforms an idea into an experiment, assesses customer feedback, and then adjusts the plan accordingly. Planning begins with identifying what needs to be learned, what should be measured, and ultimately what to construct. A minimum viable product, MVP, is the fastest version that completes a full learning cycle with the least amount of effort. It is not merely the smallest possible item, it is the quickest path to gaining real insights about a business hypothesis. A phone tax product started by handling only basic returns in a single state, not tackling the entire issue from the outset. This early version allowed customers to submit a photo of their W-2 form and file most of a straightforward return. Early adopters are willing to accept an 80% solution because the advantage of being first outweighs the need for complete refinement. Additional features that exceed the needs of early adopters can become unnecessary as they hinder feedback and prolong cycles. An effective next step is to build a single testable path and present it to real customers promptly. If this strategy allows you to progress more swiftly with less waste, consider subscribing for more practical operating systems for learning. Innovation accounting tracks progress through validated learning rather than by merely assessing how busy teams appear each week. It starts by converting critical assumptions into a measurable model that is subject to testing. The first milestone is to establish baseline data using a minimum viable product while observing actual customer behaviours. The second milestone focuses on tuning the system with incremental changes that aim to improve outcomes toward the target. The third milestone serves as a critical decision point where the options are to pivot or continue on the current path. Vanity metrics are ineffective because they lack clarity on the causal relationships represented by the numbers. Actionable metrics resolve this issue by making cause and effect clear, enabling teams to replicate successful strategies. Cohort analysis enhances understanding by examining user behaviours over time instead of simply aggregating totals in a spreadsheet. A cohort report investigates how many users engage in each key behaviour, revealing where the process might fail. A pragmatic next step is to swap out dashboards for cohort reports focused on individual learning milestones. A pivot represents a structured adjustment aimed at testing a new foundational hypothesis. The decision to pivot often arises when progress fails to align with the initial strategic hypothesis. One early product encouraged teenagers to invite friends before users had discovered how enjoyable the tool could be. Customers hesitated because inviting friends felt like a social risk before they gained confidence in using the platform. The team introduced a feature that randomly matched users with strangers, leading users to find it enjoyable. Over time, customer interactions revealed a preference for a standalone network rather than a mere addition to an existing one. Growth hinges on selecting the appropriate engine, whether it's sticky retention, viral sharing, or paid acquisition. Sticky growth is measured by churn rate, viral growth is evaluated by the viral coefficient, and paid growth assesses LTV against CPA. A reasonable next step is to define your engine, decide on its main metric, and plan pivot reviews at specific milestones. This approach safeguards your vision, while allowing enough flexibility in strategy to adapt to real customer behaviour. The primary focus is on accelerating learning, as quicker feedback minimises waste and enhances adaptability. Clearly defining your startup and testing key assumptions helps teams avoid confusing movement with real progress. Validated learning, MVP development, and innovation accounting transform uncertainty into measurable actions and critical decision points. Actionable metrics and cohort reports keep team members aligned since they make cause and effect relationships visible to all. Maintaining pivot discipline ensures that strategies remain adaptable without sacrificing the underlying vision driving the project. Speed is also achieved through managing small batches, which expose quality issues and customer rejection sooner. Working in small batches reduces rework, as problems are identified early rather than discovered at the end of a lengthy process. Large organizations can adopt similar practices by creating systems that facilitate frequent tests and quick website modifications. For example, one tax product team moved from one major release to conducting hundreds of experiments in a single season. If you're aiming for a consistent way to build, measure, and accelerate learning, subscribe for more guides that simplify execution.